Welcome back. We're here with Lawrence Rael. He's a candidate for governor, and we're talking to him about the variety of issues there. Before we went for break, we were talking about economy and a few other things and a little bit about your background and stuff. Healthcare is the biggest thing of last year and the year before that. I know our budget has increased. I think the current governor has increased the budget a little bit. Talk a little bit about the ACA. You have just as a chance as anybody else to become governor. What would you do as far as Medicaid? What is your opinion about Medicaid in general? Do we need to expand it? What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think we need to expand it, obviously. We need to create an opportunity to have as many New Mexicans covered under as we possibly can. My strong interest is on the healthcare sector is really looking at the opportunities that we have to grow the industry and to create jobs in New Mexico. We have the health science center, as I was saying earlier, which is a world-class facility.
Are you okay with the current health system in New Mexico?
No, I think we obviously have to do more. Rural health care is a real issue for the state. We have a situation where we have rural health hospitals that are not able to get enough dollars to keep their doors open, and we've seen a net decrease in some of the services out there. We need to begin to look at how we provide health care in the rural areas of our state in a much more directed manner, but that we also use the University of New Mexico and the Health Science Center to create opportunities to maybe have young people who are becoming doctors, nurses, et cetera, to give them an opportunity to go out and work some of their loans, if you will, off by dedicating their work to being in our rural communities. But my point simply in the health field is that there's opportunities to create good jobs in New Mexico in that field, because we're an aging population as a state. We're a great haven for a lot of folks who are retiring here, and that's an area of economic growth that we could really, I think, capitalize on and really use to create more jobs. To me, it's really the economy issue is really what's the most important part of what New Mexico's challenge, as we said earlier, is growing jobs in our state, because we are losing population. A lot of young people are leaving New Mexico.
There's tons of people leaving, especially the younger generation.
Younger generation.
They're going to Texas, they're going to Colorado.
That's right, and as
Arizona.
a result, we're losing the opportunities for us. So again, if we invest back in the sectors that we know will create jobs in our state.
So how do we keep these youngsters from leaving?
Well, I think there's
I know there's no quick solution for it.
There's not, but there is an opportunity for us to look at diversifying our economic sector. Let's talk about, for example, green energy and renewable energy in particular. Solar, wind, and geothermal are opportunities for New Mexico to be a leader and to create new jobs. Green building and green technologies for building better and smarter homes and efficient buildings are opportunities for us to retrain our construction industry so that they can continue to build smarter and better use of our homes, so that we have more sustainability in how we build our communities. But also looking at how do we position New Mexico to take advantage of its position as a part of the country. Transportation is a big part of New Mexico's sector. The rail lines, et cetera, create opportunities, just like what we're doing in Santa Teresa with building logistics centers. So that products coming to America that get put on rail lines go all the way to Chicago today, get repackaged in Chicago and are sent back. Why not create opportunities for those packages to be brought to New Mexico, repackaged here and sent out to the rest of the country, or the rest of the western part of New Mexico or the country? Or looking at how we maybe engage in creating much stronger collaborative relationships with Latin America. I mean, we could be the gateway to Latin America in many sectors, especially as the Latin American economies begin to get stronger and stronger. There's an opportunity, again, for New Mexico to be positioned in that.
And you're going to be dealing with some of that foreign policy issue. If you were governor right now, Tesla is looking for a place to build it back. Well, are you for that? Are you against that? And what would you do to bring them here?
Well, first and foremost, as I said before, my experience in local government and bringing companies in is really the experience that you need when you're looking at a company like Tesla. First and foremost, those are the types of jobs we got to be looking at, because they're jobs.
I think it's roughly about 6,000 or 7,000 jobs.
Right, but more importantly, they're green jobs. They're jobs that look at using a different kind of a battery, if you will, opportunity to propel our cars and move our cars forward. They're good for the environment.
Because that's the future.
That's the future.
Electric cars
and those
are
the kinds of things that we've got to be looking at. So my perspective would be is I would have already been talking to the president of Tesla. I would have already had the legislature pass the necessary legislative initiatives that gives Tesla a sense that we're really interested in having them be in New Mexico.
So what do we do? Do we give them an incentive? What do we do with
Well,
them?
you have
How
to do
do we
some of
bring
that.
them here?
But let me give you a good example. The governor of Arizona immediately had the state legislature in Arizona pass legislation that permits Tesla to sell their cars directly to consumers. Because Arizona and New Mexico and many other states have a law right now that the only way you can buy a car is you have to buy it through a dealer.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, they went out and said, well, Tesla, we want you so bad in Arizona that we're going to pass legislation that gives you the only opportunity. Electric car manufacturers can sell directly to consumers.
So why is it that we don't do something like that?
Well,
why is our legislation always lagging behind with things
Well,
like
I
that?
think it's leadership. I will tell you straight up, this governor is not paying attention to those kinds of issues. You have got to be able to put forth, I believe, an agenda that says we are interested in you coming to New Mexico and let's put our best foot forward. I would have gathered the top CEOs of New Mexico and brought them in and said to the owner of Tesla, saying, look, here's why these people are in New Mexico. This is the kind of opportunities we have to create new jobs in New Mexico, and we want you to come to New Mexico. And what do you need from us to give us an opportunity to compete? Now, we may end up being shortlisted, which is great, but we need to put every
I think
effort.
they're ruling New Mexico out. I think he already ruled it out.
I have not heard. I know they were making some decision this afternoon. They may.
Leaning more towards Arizona.
Well, yeah, because Arizona passed the legislation quickly.
And I think that's the reason. That's
And
the
they
key
passed the
reason.
tax breaks for them immediately. The point is that we need to be more aggressive.
But the House here is mostly controlled by the Democrats, right?
Right, the House
So
and Senate.
why is it that we're, why is it that they're not acting proactive in that way, the way Arizona is?
Well, here's the interesting thing about this. This last session, which would have been the session that would have been the key session, is a 30-day session that's limited under our Constitution to financial matters. In order to consider anything beyond that, it has to be on the governor's call. The governor has to initiate the discussion. There was no discussion about any of these issues, even though we knew the company was kicking the tires, so to speak, and wanting to be in New Mexico. We missed opportunities. But yet again, the legislature works for the governor in the sense that the governor has to make a call for a special session. We've been talking about Tesla for about 2.5 months. The session ended in the middle of February, and she's still thinking about whether she's going to call them in. My point simply being is that if you want the company, you got to go out there and show that you're aggressive and that you want these jobs in New Mexico.
Is there something I'm missing as far as, I don't mean to beat the drum of Tesla there, but it's a big corporation. I
Absolutely.
was hoping that they would actually show up here. Do you think that there was something else that we're overlooking, the reason why we didn't pass such a legislation where we're giving them an incentive? Because we know they're looking for an incentive.
Well, sure they
right?
are. They're looking for an
So,
incentive.
yeah.
I'm not involved in the intimate discussions as I was when I was recruiting other companies, but I will tell you, what most companies look for is they look for leadership, and they look for an environment that's business friendly, and they look for a governor and that will come in and say, look, here's what we can deliver, and here's what we're going to do. And in my perspective, we have a situation in Santa Fe where that's not occurring in an aggressive and structured manner. Now, they may not have located in New Mexico anyway, but the point is you send the message to the rest of the country and to the world that we want you to come to New Mexico if you're going to do X and Y, to New Mexico. The other piece I would tell you that's really important, and I've said this over and over,
A couple of minutes left there.
is
yeah.
we need to make sure, however, that whenever we give incentives for companies, that we have performance measures in place to make sure that we're not giving away New Mexico's tax base and then have a company come in and leave. And that's important in this process. But it's all about the experience of getting it done.
I think that has a lot to do with the experience you bring. Sometimes the culture here doesn't promote very large businesses. They're afraid of them. It was a miracle that Intel came in here. I remember when Intel came here, it was a big deal. Everybody was saying that they won't last here. They're going to leave in a few years. But they've actually been here for a long time.
Well,
we'd love to have more companies like Intel there.
Well, we need more companies like that, and I'll tell you, it was a miracle, but it was an effort by the governor then and the legislature and the local governments, and I was part of that, to really put our best foot forward. We can do better by New Mexico if we just have a united front where people work together and forget the politics of Democrat versus Republican.
We got to think of the public first.
Yeah, and who
I
gets
think,
the credit?
yeah.
Quite frankly, it's about creating jobs for New Mexicans. And that's why I'm very interested in this job for governor, because it's about making New Mexico a better
I only
place.
got a minute left there. Why did you decide to get into the governor's race?
I
What was that key moment for
The
you?
key moment was when I was sitting there and my wife looked at me and said, look, we're 50th in job creation. We're 50th in child welfare. We're the 49th worst managed
we
state in
ranked
the
pretty
union.
low there. Yeah.
And it just began to see that this consistent discussion about we're at the bottom of all the good lists and at the top of all the bad lists. And I said, look, I've spent 35 years in public service. I believe I have a lot to offer in terms of experience and knowledge of New Mexico, and I'd like to put that experience and talent to work to grow New Mexico and move New Mexico forward. My children live here, and I want my children to be able to have the same life I did, to grow here and be able to grow old here and have their children here. That's what it's about for me. It's public service.
Well, I think it will take a little bit of, like you said, it will take leadership to change the way things are done in the roundhouse there. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. We've got a few minutes left, but come back and see us, especially if you win.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you
It's
for
good to
coming
see you. My
Yes,
pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll
Thank
have
you
you
for
back.
having me.
Okay, absolutely. We're out of time. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching Local, National, Global.